When your patients come and see you, Dr. Alex, what are they asking you most frequently as it relates to peptides? What are like the top 3 questions you get asked the most?
The first thing I get asked is, what peptides do I need? And then I just look at them, I'm like, well, what's your problem? Like what's bothering you?
And what do they say?
And then they'll come in and they'll start talking about energy, sex drive, and that sort of things. And I'm like, okay, if that's it, well, we need to check your testosterone levels, brother. Okay. So instead of looking for peptides, right? You don't walk into a Home Depot or a Lowe's, be like, what tools do I need? And you're like, well, what are you trying to do? Right. And then you start to talk to someone there like, well, I'm trying to build this. Okay. You need a saw, you need a screwdriver, you need this. And some of those tools might be peptides. All right. But some of them may be hormones. Some of it may be diet and exercise. And so peptides are just another type of tool that we can use.
We all want a shortcut though. Doctors, we all want a quick way to be better, and ideally not to have to do hard work. That's like what most, the average person is looking for. And we hear about these peptides, we hear other people are taking them, we hear the fantastic results in skin, hair, muscle, and we go, fucking, what about me?
You know what I tell patients? I'm like, me too, man. But my alarm still went off at 4:45 this morning so I could hit the gym before I made it to clinic, because there are no real shortcuts. There are things that can help, right? GLP-1s are the best example of that, right? Okay, this is the closest thing to a shortcut you're gonna get. But the truth is that this isn't gonna go to the gym for you, and it's not going to lift the weight, so you can maintain that muscle mass so you get the best possible result and try to hold on to your muscle while losing the fat.
One thing I've learned from doing this podcast that has really grown with me over time, people ask me all the time, like, what's the one thing you've learned from the podcast? One of the answers that I've never given that I'm going to give now is that I've learned that there's no such thing in life as a free lunch.
No, absolutely not.
And what I mean by that is like everything is a trade-off.
Yes.
And if you ever hear on a podcast or in any medium that something has tremendous upsides, the first question one should ask is, what's the trade? And like just with everything, you can apply this to having a relationship with a partner. Huge upsides. Also, trade-off.
Trade-off. Yeah.
Kids, like
I love my children. I haven't slept in years, right? Like this is life, right? There are trade-offs, and even with great tools, there are trade-offs.
So, what are the trade-offs of these peptides?
The biggest trade-off right now is you don't know if you're even getting what you want, right? Because you're ordering this from some research, compound only. You don't know whether or not they've gotten out all the appropriate endotoxins. You don't know if you're getting what you actually paid for. So that's the biggest thing. And also the thing is that, well, all right, these have a good example of, preventing or helping heal injury. But the thing is that, well, we've got other compounds over here. Let's go ahead and let's just pull Tesamorelin as an example. So this is actually interesting. It's a peptide that is commercially available right now. I could write the script for you. You could go pick it up from CVS or Walgreens. Okay. This is available as a commercial product, and people really like it because it'll help boost growth hormone, and it happens to be uniquely good at stripping abdominal fat, or visceral fat. But the thing is that, the moment you stop taking it for a brief period of time, well, if you haven't changed anything about your lifestyle, you're going to go right back to where you were.
It's good at stripping abdominal fat, belly fat.
Belly fat. This is what it's known for. Yeah.
It's good at stripping belly fat.
Stripping belly fat specifically. So bodybuilders actually really like it for that particular application.
I had no idea there was a peptide for stripping belly fat.
There you go, man. And for example, here we've got another one. So this is melanotan 2, right? So this is a melanocortin receptor agonist. So melanocortins, that's what makes you tan, right? So you could administer this, all right, and it will actually end up giving you a deep tan in response to just a little bit of UV sun exposure, all right? Now, I know, right? Listen, I've embraced my pasty whiteness, so I'm not, not necessarily my bag, but it's real. Now, again, there are some safety concerns with this because, again, could that potentially stimulate a melanoma or something like that? But this is something, again, it's a peptide that gives a wildly different result than Tesamorelin, right? Because it's a different application. It does. Yeah, it does. It'll also give you some of the most impressive erections you've ever had in your life. So be warned.
Wait, it's literally turning you into a black guy.
Finally. Yeah, right. And it's wild. So there's even a derivative of melanotan 2 called PT141 bremelanotide that is a commercial product right now that you can write as a prescription. Okay. But that doesn't have the tanning benefit, but has the sexual, benefits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Keep those ones over here.
We have to talk about this. Another really interesting phenomenon that we've seen, right, is that now we've got all of these companies that are making these research use only compounds, right? It used to be that you would have a compound that's in drug development and you're seeing all the advertisements for it. You know, maybe if you follow these sorts of things like I do because I'm a nerd, right? You get excited about it, but you don't get access to it, right? Well, believe it or not, the next blockbuster drug that Lilly is going to come out with probably in the next couple of months is this guy called retatrutide, all right? And retatrutide is fantastic in that it is the first 3 receptor agonist GLP-1 drug. So the GLP-1 drugs, okay, whenever you're talking about semaglutide and tirzepatide, they have slightly different profiles.
This is the Ozempic category.
Correct, right? So GLP-1 is the primary receptor that they work on. And what that will do is it slows gastric emptying and it limits caloric intake, all right? But then in tirzepatide, not semaglutide, but tirzepatide is a dual agonist. So it has effect on GIP, which is a different receptor. Well, retatrutide adds in glucagon receptor activation. And so believe it or not, your liver actually acts like a repository of energy where it stores glycogen and fat that your body can use as energy. But that's a problem, right? If you get too much fat there, if you have a caloric excess, then you could end up having what's called NASH cirrhosis, but non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, basically inflammation of your liver due to accumulating too much fat. It's a problem. But by stimulating the glucagon receptor while simultaneously hitting GLP-1 and GIP, what we found is not only do patients lose an incredible amount of weight, but they also get the best improvements we've ever seen in their liver health that we've ever seen. And people have been buying that from research use only websites and using it for about 2 years now. And bodybuilders have already made this the standard in their protocol when it comes to cutting for a show. And it is wildly effective. And we're now seeing the population using a drug at scale that hasn't even made it through commercialization yet.
Why are you smirking? You're using it.
No. I have not. I can honestly say I have not used Reta, but I find it fascinating though. It's absolutely wild. You know, talk about power to the people, right?
What about these others then? What else have we got here that you think is interesting?
So we've got these two here that I think are really interesting. So CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. So the whole idea is that, you know, can we stimulate growth hormone? And there's an interesting story behind that. You know, actually growth hormone itself was very, very popular for many, many years as an anti-aging compound. But then we changed some laws here in 1990, okay, that made it a little dicey to prescribe growth hormone. And also, you know, it's kind of a blunt instrument. We wanted something to stimulate more natural growth hormone release. So we have this entire class of medications called secretagogues that help stimulate natural growth hormone release. And these are two of the most potent ones that are often combined together.
And when we say growth hormone,
yes.
What does growth hormone do?
So growth hormone acts like a signal that tells your liver to make more of another compound we talked about, IGF-1. What growth hormone does is growth hormone actually stimulates building muscle, okay? Yep. It also strips fat, okay? And it's also been found to help with tissue healing.
Okay.
And so there's a significant benefit in that regard. And so people want to boost their growth hormone. It improves quality of skin, improves quality of hair and nails and that sort of thing. And so these two compounds together are particularly potent. CJC 1295 being a growth hormone releasing hormone derivative. And then we have ipamorelin, which is a ghrelin receptor agonist. So again, improving the release of growth hormone through two different synergistic mechanisms. And so that one is really, really interesting, or these two together. And then on top of that, so this one, somatotropin, another word for growth hormone. Okay, so this is growth hormone, okay? Just a different word for it.
So what would happen, let's just take this one.
Sure.
Somatotropin.
Yeah.
Somatotropin.
Yeah.
If I bought this for research purposes.
Research purposes only.
And I started injecting some of this into me.
Yes.
What would change?
So it depends on how much you do and when you do it. So the idea is that if you injected that at night, it would improve your quality of sleep, okay? You would get a boost in your quality of your hair, your skin, nails. Theoretically, it would be easier for you to recover from injuries, hopefully put on a little bit more muscle a little bit easier, maybe lose a little bit of fat.
So why don't I take it?
Well, because if you take a little bit too much, you can actually get insulin resistance because your glucose levels will go too high for too long, all right? You abuse too much for too long, you will actually get acromegaly. So that's development of your bones continue to grow, but not only in certain junctures. And so there's a very specific look that bodybuilders who abuse growth hormone in high amounts will get to them, all right, which is an irreversible change to the facial bone structure. You can also theoretically, if you had a cancer, maybe it could make it worse, all right? We've never shown it that it causes new cancers, but that could be a concern. And, on top of that, it could give you insulin resistance because, yeah, exactly, right? And if you take too much, it could potentially make your hands numb in the morning because you get effusions into the joint space. And so bodybuilders will talk about lifting a dumbbell and having to drop it because their hand goes numb temporarily if they're taking too much growth hormone too soon.
And what else have we got here?
Oh my gosh. So epithalon. So this is the medication that is theoretically going to be available to us in July. Okay. And so the hope is that, this is going to expand cell life. So epithalon, the purpose of it is it works to enhance telomerase. So at the end of your cells, imagine it this way. You're trying to copy the genome, but the little copier that copies it takes up space in of itself. So it's kind of like it cuts off the last couple letters every single time.
This is when you're aging, right?
When you're aging, you're creating new cells, right? Cells divide through this process called mitosis where they split, all right? Well, if you got to make an exact copy, well, you've got to read through all these lines of code. But because of the way that we're built, we always end up cutting off the last little bit of code. Now,
which is how we age.
Which is how we age. It is one of the things that contributes to aging, all right? Now, that is considered to be quote unquote junk information. It's at the very end called the telomere, all right? But we know that shorter telomeres are associated with aging, potentially worse health outcomes. Then there's an enzyme that can help heal or repair the telomere called telomerase. Epithalon helps encourage that. And so some people are looking at that as being one of the fountain of youth compounds. I'm very skeptical as far as that goes, but it does show some benefits when it comes to healing parts of your brain that are associated with regulating your circadian rhythm.
So the average person listening now, they've heard a lot of stuff about a lot of things. How do they know if they should pursue getting and taking peptides? Like, how do they know? What are they looking for?
So what I will say is that think of peptides as falling into three categories, all right? You've got category one, which are peptides that you can prescribe right now, legal from, a commercial pharmacy. That includes the GLP-1s, PT141, bremelanotide I mentioned to you earlier, oxytocin is another one. We have these different compounds that are available. And then we have what we call category two, which we don't have anything in right now, but that will consist of the 7 peptides that are hopefully going to be approved in July whenever they get moved from category 2, cannot compound, to category 1, can compound, all right? And then everything else is kind of in this category 3, where it's only available for research use only. And so my recommendation for patients is don't go out and buy research use only compounds, all right? You don't know what you're getting, and you don't know if you're dosing it right. You don't know if it's contaminated. So really what the public should be doing is educating themselves on this, and then going and talking to their doctors about what problems they have. And then potentially when those options become available, a peptide might be part of the answer for their problem.
Okay, so speak to your doctor.
Yeah.
Consult with your doctor and make it a conversation with whoever your medical professional is about your symptoms and what might be useful and what the range, the toolbox, the options are.
Correct.
To attack those symptoms.
Yes, absolutely. Collaborate with your doctor. Your doctor should be your partner in you getting as healthy as humanly possible.
We talked about trizepatide, Ozempic, semaglutide. One of the questions that's front of mind for everybody, whether they're taking them or watching others take them, is what happens when you stop?
We've looked at that. You actually regain the weight. And so, because the truth is that you have introduced something into your life that has moved the needle in one direction. But if you don't change anything else, well, you take that back out, well, you're going to go back to where you were. And so if you're going to maintain that weight loss, you have to make lifestyle changes associated with that. And what we found is that people do regain, if they do make lifestyle changes, they do regain some of the weight, but not necessarily all of the weight. And there's also data showing that you could potentially stay on that medication, but at a much lower dose, and then maintain your weight, okay? So there are options to minimize your medication burden long-term.
And of all the things we've talked about today, if you had to just pick one thing that excites you the most, that's either coming down the pipe or here already, what is the thing you're most excited about? I see your eyes wondering.
Hands down, it's that one over there, retatrutide, because the changes in body composition that we have seen both in clinical trials, and in anecdotal reports from users who have obtained it on their own are wild. We're talking losing 20 to 25% of total body weight within a relatively short period of time. And I think that this is going to be basically the Ferrari of GLP-1 medications when it comes out. It's not for everybody, right? It's going to go faster than everything else, but it's going to change the game. I think this is going to be a $1 trillion drug when it comes out.
And no one's going to own the patent, so everybody will be able to access it. Is that right?
No, that is going to belong solely to Lilly. And so you are going to see, and they are going to enforce it, as aggressively as they've ever enforced anything. But you will see profound results in patients.
People are referring to peptides as Silicon Valley's miracle drug. And I wondered why that was, why it's been associated with Silicon Valley. Have you heard that at all? I
have. And I'll tell you, I've seen some peptide stacks from, Silicon Valley, founders and, individuals that blow my mind. I'm like, oh man, even I think that's a lot.
Why would people in Silicon Valley, why would founders be interested in peptides?
Well, I think it's because we all want to live our, best version of our own lives, right? We want to perform at the highest level. And so, people will do whatever they can. They'll drink caffeine, they'll, pop a Zen in their mouth, and they'll try to tweak whatever variable they possibly can to get the best possible performance. And the thing is that anabolic steroids come with, significant side effects, and that's not everybody's cup of tea, right? And the health consequences from high dose androgens dwarf anything that you might experience with peptides. And so peptides offer a lot of flexibility in pulling many different levers that are interesting to like your regular average person. And honestly, it requires a little bit of DIY right now because of the nature of these peptides. And I think you combine that with the kind of rogue, founder spirit that is common in Silicon Valley. And I think it's a perfect fit.
I asked you a second ago, what are the 3 questions that people come to you and ask you as a doctor? The first one, as it related to peptides, was which peptide should I be taking?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions we haven't covered off that are commonplace in your practice?
The second one is, can you prescribe me? And then I have to explain to them the regulatory environment, surrounding peptides that, as of right now, the only peptides that I can prescribe are the ones you can get from CVS or Walgreens, which is going to be your GLP-1 medications, and a handful of others that usually aren't applying to the young men that I see in my practice.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.